the universe is huge. And if the universe is huge, then my problems really are small.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Come and Clean Podcast. This is your host, Peter O. Estevez. And today I have the honor and privilege to have an incredible human being, none other than Mr. Glenn Lundy. Glenn,
Hey, man, it's awesome to be
hello.
here. Thank you so much. This is
Thank you
cool.
for being here. Glenn is the creator or the host of hashtag Rise and Grind, Breakfast with Champions, and the Breakfast Club. And he actually live streams on Facebook, Clubhouse, and Instagram his podcast on a daily basis. And I love the way he does it. I love his authenticity. I love his passion and motivation, his hand mannerisms, and everything that he does to bring the juice and the enthusiasm to the conversation and to and his wisdom each and every morning. Glenn, I'm so happy to have you. And you're also a father of 8. Thank you for
I
joining.
am. I am a father of 8, and that's one key point there, Peter. We gotta make sure people keep that in mind because it's crazy, man. It's crazy, but no, yes, I love it, and I appreciate the opportunity to share this platform with you and pour into your people. And yeah, man, rise and grind. I'm glad that you like it. I appreciate all the kind words. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but I love it, man. There's nothing else I'd rather be doing at 5:30 in the morning for sure than helping motivate, educate, and inspire people all around the world. It's really, really neat.
I love it. What inspired you to start hashtag Rise and Grind? What was your inspiration behind that?
Yeah, so there was kind of there was 2 or 3 different components of that. And so I was running a dealership in Paris, Kentucky, and this car dealership that I was running, we had helped it grow 800% from a small standard dealership selling 100 cars a month to ultimately selling over 1,000 cars in a month in a tiny little town, population 9,600 people.
Wow.
And a big part of that was social media. I was showing up on social media. I was posting twice a day. I was the first person in the auto industry to ever live stream our Saturday morning sales meetings, so our customers could see behind the scenes, and our um, uh, great for recruiting talent, all over the United States. They could see
Court?
how I ran a meeting, which was awesome. And so I was kind of already in the social media world, and I knew that morning routines were incredibly powerful, and changing the way people start their day helped us in the dealership world a lot. Like, I was teaching these young millennials life skills, not just job skills. And it was a big part of how we were growing. And so I started putting all these kind of pieces together. And then came the like little pain in my side. And the pain in my side was every time I got on Facebook to make these posts and do these things, I saw negativity, I saw violence, I saw division, racism, politics, like all the crap that comes with social media. And it just bothered me, Peter. Like, it would like it wasn't like I would just say, oh, social media is so negative. No, like, it bothered me, like it hurt my spirit every time I'd get in there. And what I've learned in my short life, the 43 years that I've been here, one of the things that I've learned is, if something really is bothering you, like it really is getting under your skin, I believe that that's God or universe, whatever word you want to use. I believe that that's God's way of guiding you, saying, "Hey, don't complain about it. Let's go do something about it." Right? Like, you've got things in you that you can help fix this problem. So once I realized, like, it was really bothering me, I said, okay, so how do I do something about this? I can't eradicate negativity on the internet. It's not going to happen, right? It's just never going to happen. But what I can do is I can carve out one little slice, and I can create a safe space on the internet that will be nothing but motivation, education, inspiration, no news, no negativity, like none of that other stuff. I can carve that space out, and hopefully those that are attracted to it, they can find it, right? They can find it. And so I thought, well, when would be a good time to do that? Because I got 8 kids,
Yeah.
and a job, and like, how do I commit to carving out this space? Because I'm the type of person that before I commit to something, I want to make sure nothing's going to get in the way. Like, commitment to me is a very strong word. Like, a lot of people like to commit to things, and then maybe they do it for a while, or maybe they something else gets in the way or whatever. I'm not that type of person. If I commit, I want to make sure nothing's going to get in the way of that commitment. My word means so much to me. So I thought, when can I do it every day? Nothing will ever get in the way. No dinners, no travel, no kids, no nothing. And it was like, okay, well, let's do it like 7 in the morning. I was like, no, I'm already getting emails, text messages. That ain't gonna work. How about 6:30? No, no. Some of the kids are usually up by 6:30. You never know. Something could happen. 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. There's is it the sun's already up. Things start to. I'm like 5:30. Okay. At 5:30 a.m. There's literally nothing that ever, if I have something in the way of a 5:30 a.m., then I am not where I'm supposed to be. Let's just say that. There's no way I should be up or doing anything at 5:30 in the morning. And so I selected that time, which fell right in line with the knowledge, if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact. So I took the power of morning routine, this urge that I had to that this thing was bothering me so bad, and I wanted to do something about it. And then from a marketing standpoint, I thought, oh, wait a minute. If I do this every morning and I include my tagline for my dealership, then people could start the day every day. I can program, right? I can program them like a radio ad. I could program them first thing in the morning when they're most susceptible. I can program them. And then later in the day, if somebody bumps into them and says, hey, I want to buy a car, they'll go, there's this guy, Glenn Lundy. I just listened to him this morning. You should go buy a car there, right? So I put the pieces all together and I went live for the first time January 6th, 2018. And I went on and I said, my name is Glenn Lundy, and I'm a husband to, at that time, it was like 5 kids. My name is Glenn Lundy, and I'm a husband to 5. I'm sorry, I'm a husband to 1. I'm a father to 5, and I'm the general manager at Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick in Paris, Kentucky, the second largest used car franchise dealership in America. It's 5:30 a.m., and I hope you're ready to rise and grind.
I
And
love
so
it.
I would and so I would say that every morning, every morning, every morning. People started like, and then I just do my thing, right? Like whatever the theme was, and I started doing the shows and just motivation, education, inspiration, motivation, education, inspiration. And people started watching and they started sharing it. And then people that were watching were like, hey, this is cool. We should create a group. And so we created a group on Facebook, and that blew up to over 30,000 active members. And so we created this whole space with nothing but motivation, education, inspiration, 24 hours a day. And there's 52 people that moderate that group to make sure there's never anything in there. It's a safe space on the internet. And so we created the group, and then people said, we need t-shirts, Glenn, and we want like rise and grind uniforms. And so we started making t-shirts and hats and hoodies and backpacks. And now we have a whole clothing line built around hashtag rise and grind. And then they said, Glenn, we want events. We want to meet people in real life. Can we have some events? And I was like, sure. So we started doing live events. And then they said, we need a planner so we can put everything in one place. And we started putting together planners. And now fast forward to today, it's been, going on, or it's been just over 3 years. We've done 825 episodes of
Wow.
hashtag rise and grind. And I've had the honor of speaking on stages and traveling the world and interviewing amazing humans from all over the place. We do interviews on Fridays on the show. And yeah, it's really been a wild journey. I ended up leaving the dealership world in October of 2018 to just pursue more of this and kind of step out the boat type thing. And yeah, and then came Clubhouse 8 weeks ago. And I'm like, well, the same formula has to work on Clubhouse. I mean, if it's the formula makes sense, there's no competition at 5:30 a.m. It's a wide open space. And so we started
Other
doing
than
it.
the Brits, other than the Brits.
That's right. Exactly. So we started doing it on Clubhouse I guess 8 weeks ago now, and it's rapidly become, the number one show in the mornings on Clubhouse, and we're now trying to figure out where we go from here. So that's
I,
kind of the journey of rise and grind.
Glenn, what an incredible story. And I want to commend you for the work that you do because you are definitely the number one show in Clubhouse. You're also the only show in Clubhouse that has not been tainted by any negativity. You keep
Hmm.
such a safe, positive, powerful space. I often pop in and stay for a little while, and I, move on to my day, to about my days. But you are the most safe space and most positive space. I'm very active on the app throughout the day, and I have participated and collaborated with many of the staples, for lack of a better word, of Clubhouse.
Sure.
Um, from JT to Mario, and I can see how different personalities can create uh, can be polarizing for whatever reason, right?
Sure. Sure.
But you have done an incredible job at maintaining such a positive space, and such a it's a joy to go there. You're always going to hear positive motivation, inspiration, and education. You said it right. I mean, you hit it right on the nail, and I commend you for that. But
Thank you.
but that has not always been your story.
No. No.
You were homeless.
I was. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you struggle with some demons.
Yeah. No doubt. No
Yeah,
doubt.
tell us about that journey. Tell us about that. You know, where was a young Glenn Lundy? Who was he, and how did he encounter those demons?
Yeah, Peter, it's really cool, man. So I grew up in a very unique situation, very unique situation. And so my dad is black, my mom is white. And they got divorced when I was 11 years old. And my dad, who's black, he got remarried and married a black woman. My mom, she's white, she got remarried a white guy. And then they moved into Greenlaw Garden Apartments, 2600 East 7th Avenue in Flagstaff, Arizona. My dad and his new wife were in apartment 30. My mom and her new husband were in apartment 28.
Wow.
There was one apartment in between us. Now, my dad's new wife, she had four kids of her own, and then they had two more. So when me and my sister would load up our clothes on Friday and walk two apartments over to spend every other weekend with my dad, there was eight of us in this three-bedroom apartment. And when we were at mom's house, there was eight kids in the three-bedroom. When we were at mom's, there was just us two kids. We had our own bedrooms, right? But here's the thing, Peter, every stereotype that you could possibly imagine existed in these two houses. The cultural differences were so extreme. Dad's house was like sports on every TV, a TV in every bedroom. It was super loud. We were listening to gospel music and Motown, eating fried chicken and collard greens, drinking Kool-Aid. Like every stereotype you could think of existed over in Dad's house. Mom's house was like rock and roll music, some country. You'd find mom like sitting on the couch reading a book, nice and quiet, eating her whatever her diet was, and they would hang out at the bowling alley. Like it was just so extreme. And growing up in the middle of that was really difficult for me when I was young. Like I am so grateful for it now. But when I was young, my skin was too dark to be white, and it was too light to be black. And so I was kind of in this space in between. And that caused me to be a chameleon. So whatever environment I was in, I'd blend in with that environment. If I was hanging out with Hispanic dudes, I'd start to have a Hispanic accent, right? If I was hanging out with the brothers, then I'd be a brother. If I was hanging out with the rich white kids, I was wanting to be a rich white kid. So I just kind of became a chameleon, which was great. I got along with everyone for the most part, but I had zero deep relationships. Like all my relationships were surface because I wasn't being me. I was
You were
being,
surface. You were surface.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I was totally surface. And so that caused me to start getting into a lot of trouble, like in high school, late high school, early into my 20s. I was just kind of all over the place, man, doing whatever. and I was living what I call a 2D life. So if it looked good and it felt good, the answer was yes. Period. That's it. If I had to get over on you, stab you in the back, beat you up, steal from you, didn't matter. As far as I was concerned, I had no responsibility to anyone other than self. I had a very Darwinistic approach on life, survival of the fittest, right? Everybody fend for themselves. And so that's the life that I was living. And so I would rob, cheat, steal, lie, all of those things, whatever, as long as it benefited me. If it looked good and it felt good, the answer was yes. And so I lived that way into my 20s, got into the car business, and in the car dealership world, my personality was perfect. Are you kidding me?
A
It was
chameleon. Chameleon.
perfect. It was perfect. I was a chameleon and I fit right in with the structure, and I, look good, feel good. Let's go. And so I advanced rapidly in the car business in my 20s. I went from salesperson to, sales manager or finance manager, then sales manager, general sales manager, all of those things. And I am making money. I'm a kid. I'm 23 years old, making a little bit of money, 24, 25, and I'm exceeding in the car business, but my life outside of it is just falling apart. It's terrible. I mean, it's awful. I'm I had met a girl. I had met a girl when I was 20 and got her pregnant within 2 months of knowing her. And so I had a kid. I had my daughter, and she wasn't a priority to me at all. The dealership was the priority. The going out after the dealership was a priority. The chasing girls was a priority. And so her mom and I had split up, and I was just living this very selfish 2D life. And it was just a matter of time before you burn enough bridges, you establish a relationship, especially in a small town that I was living in, and you start running out of uh, people to take advantage of.
Sure.
It really is
Sure.
the long and short of it. And so my daughter, I ended up losing custody of my daughter when she was 6 years old.
Wow.
uh, Her mom took her away from me. It was a whole ordeal. And here I was in Flagstaff, Arizona, tons of bridges burned, having to watch over my shoulder at all times. Couldn't see my daughter anymore because she had been taken away from me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to run. That's the best thing to do, Glenn. Just run, right? Run from your problems. That always solves everything. And so, and so I did. I had this brilliant idea, Peter. I'm a smart dude, like a really smart dude. Like I scored super high on IQ test. I got a 1280 on my SAT. Like I'm super smart. So I had this brilliant idea. I said, I am going to go play poker for a living and be a professional gambler for the rest of my life. Right. And so I packed up everything and I went to Las Vegas, and I spent 2 weeks, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner in poker rooms. And after 2 weeks, I was sitting in my white Ford Mustang with zero gas in it in a parking lot that I couldn't even afford to get my car out of the parking lot because I couldn't pay because I didn't have any money for the ticket. And I was sitting there going, okay, this whole professional gambling thing didn't last very long. It lasted 2 weeks. So now what are we going to do? And I had burned so many bridges, but there were a couple left, but they were out of state. So I made my way over to Southern California, where I met up with someone I had known only via phone up to that point, and they gave me an opportunity, and of course I took advantage of that. And then someone else gave me an opportunity, I took advantage of that. And long story short, I end up on the beaches of San Diego, and I'm homeless, nowhere to go, no one to call, every bridge burned, all of that, man. And San Diego is such a beautiful place, you know? There's wealth and $1 million homes, and there's these people that are running down the beach and their bodies are all in shape, and people are holding hands and rollerblading down the sidewalks, and there's people with their families, and it's such a beautiful, wealthy place. And here I was sitting in the midst of it, completely homeless, and nowhere to go, nothing nothing, I didn't have any ways out. And so over time, it was just living the same day over and over, right? Get off the bus, look for money, get enough money for a sausage McMuffin with egg. That way I could get all the food groups, eat a sausage McMuffin with egg, and then look for some more money, get back on the bus. The buses would run 24 hours. I'd sleep on the bus. Once they got to the bus depot, they'd kick me off the bus. I'd go look for some money, get a sausage McMuffin with egg, look for some money, get back on the bus, look for some money, get a sausage McMuffin with egg. It was just the same thing every day. And it started to reach a point where I became invisible to other people. Like people wouldn't,
Tell me about that.
yeah, there's
Became
nothing worse.
invisible.
There's nothing worse. So people think homelessness, they think, oh, must suck. You ain't got no money. It must suck. You don't have any food. Must suck. You don't have a roof over your head. That's not the worst part of homelessness at all. The worst part of homelessness is you literally become invisible. So people will not make eye contact with you. They look above you, they look around you. They're not, maybe they don't want to make eye contact because they think you're going to mug them. Maybe they don't want to make eye contact because they think you're going to ask them for money and they're going to feel guilty for telling you no. Whatever it is, I think everyone that's listening to this right now can, if they've closed their eyes and were truthful, can think of a time where they averted making eye contact with somebody homeless, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But
And
let me ask you a question. Why did this hit you so badly from a complete stranger, but not the actions that you were doing to your friends and family? Why did this impact you so deeply?
yeah, well, it wasn't the individual, it was overall. Just over time, as each day, each day goes, each
Rotting
day
you, it was
goes.
eating up on you.
Yeah, and you just start to blend in. You become like a park bench or a
Wow,
bush or
wow.
whatever, and you just start to blend in and then what ends up happening is homelessness becomes hopelessness. That's what happens is you start to go, okay, this is Groundhog Day. It's the same day every day. Nobody even sees me anymore. Like I don't have any worth. I don't have any value and I have nowhere to go. I have no way out. So you become hopeless and then hopelessness becomes depression, right? Because that's what depression is a loss
Sure,
of hope.
sure.
And so then the depression became suicidal thoughts. And then suicidal thoughts became, oh, wait a minute. This is the solution. I can actually, all these people that I've burned, all these mistakes that I've made, like my mom's still out there worrying about me. Well, if I take my own life, she ain't got to worry about me no more.
Yeah.
My sister doesn't have to be ashamed of me anymore. My friends, that people that thought we were friends, they don't have to live with that anymore. Like it literally became a solution to other people's problems. Is how I convinced myself that it would be okay to take my own life. And so I attempted to do that. Let's go back to the stereotypes, right? When it comes to the stereotypes, black folks and water don't mix very well. And so I decided I decided I would swim out in the Pacific Ocean as far as I could. And then I just once I wouldn't be able to come back.
Right.
I'd run out of steam. And so I waited till the beaches cleared and are like they were clearing. It was around 5 o'clock, and I headed out. La Jolla, California. There's a cove up there. It's beautiful with all the cliffs. It's the first place I've ever saw the ocean. So I made my way back up there and then headed out and tried to drown myself, man. And it was crazy because I like went out and you know how it is. You go out into the water, you feel the coolness, and then it starts to smack you around a little bit. You get a little buoyant, you feel the salt on your lips, and you start wiping your face, and then the heart rate starts to pick up a little bit, and all of those things. It starts to get chaotic when you're out there in the ocean, and so all of those things happened. And just as I went under what I thought was going to be the last time, all of a sudden, like my feet hit the ground and I pop back up and I look, I'm like, what is going on? And I look and I'm like back on the shore. So the tide was coming in as I was trying to swim out. And I was such a crappy swimmer, I couldn't even get out past the tide. So it was nuts, man. So here I am. I roll back up on the beach. I'm laying there, I'm looking at the stars and I'm going, oh my gosh, Glenn, you can't even do this right. Like you can't even kill yourself, man. Like the this is awful, right? And so as I'm laying there looking, I noticed how big the universe is. Just all of a sudden, I felt it. I was like, golly, the universe is huge. And if the universe is huge, then my problems really are small, right? And so I had that thought. And then I remember God, universe, whatever you want to believe, speaking to me and saying, basically, like, hey, Glenn, did you notice there was a constant in every bad thing that's ever happened in your life? And I'm like, well, what, different cities, different friends, different situations, but always the same result. What's the constant? Oh, me. I was the only constant. So maybe, just maybe, it hit me like a ton of bricks. If I am the catalyst of all things negative in my life, then maybe, just maybe, I could be the catalyst of all things positive in my life. And so once I had that revelation, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, maybe I'm not a victim. Maybe I'm actually the conduit. I'm creating all of these negative things. So me being a student, I'm a smart guy, like I told you a little bit earlier. The first thing I thought is, okay, well, I need to learn more about myself so that I can learn to be better to myself so that I can ultimately start creating positive results instead of negative results. And so I went on this journey of self-discovery. And on that journey of self-discovery, I studied Scientology, I studied Buddhism, I studied all the different things, Christianity, different religions, different belief systems. Like I studied, and I found one common denominator across all of them. And that was that we are not 2D, we are 3D, mind, body, and spirit.
I love it.
And that was an unlock for me. So wait a minute. Okay, if it looks good and it feels good and it does good, now the answer can be yes. But if it looks good and it feels good and it does harm to anyone, including self, well, then the answer is no. And so that was a big shift for me. And I've spent the last 13 years now, really trying to discover what that third dimension, what a 3D life, really looks like, and how to walk in that and speak in that and make every decision within that. And I've seen as far as I went back in my 2D life, I've gone that far forward in my 3D life and beyond. It has been absolutely incredible. And so,
Man,
yeah,
that,
that's
what,
that's
what
kind of
an
the story.
incredible journey. Tell us a little bit of something. I'm going to ask you two questions. Uh, when you say I study, what was your process? What did you do? What was the first thing that you did? So you have this revelation, and you realize that you're the common denominator, right?
Right,
Wherever
right.
I go, there I am.
That's right. You take yourself wherever you go, buddy.
Yeah, wherever I go, there I am. And I've been sober 22 years. Okay, so
Nice.
I've been in recovery for 22 years. I know a lot of those demons. I was the common denominator.
Right.
All five wives couldn't possibly be wrong, right? You know,
Right.
all 15 partners couldn't possibly be wrong, right?
All
So I was
right.
the common denominator, and I literally, what I realized in my journey was that what I kept taking with me was not only me, but I was taking that abused little child with me.
Mm,
Okay. And until I embraced that child and got his emotional intelligence to become parallel to my age, to who I am, until I forgave him, embraced him, and let him go and said, you are set free. You can move on. You are an adult. You move on, Peter, and you take
right.
responsibility for your actions, good, better, and different. But there are your actions. You can't blame your mom, your brother that abused you, the neighbor, XYZ,
None
the
of that.
fact that you're Hispanic, you can't blame anything. Okay.
That's right.
You are the creator of the good, the bad, and the evil.
That's
Okay.
it.
Period. So what was that first step that you did? What was that thing that you did that moved the needle that I know looking at the sky was an awakening. I can only imagine laying on the beach and looking at the sky and doing at the immensity of the universe and realizing, wow, I'm such a small spectacle and I'm making such a big freaking deal of my life, right? When there's great
Right.
problems in the world. Okay.
Right.
So there's the shift. But then also tell us about that moment when Grandpa Al embraced your grandmother and took her into her bed and how that revelation came and became really the unification of your discovery. So
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. So from there, that next day, a woman actually came to me on the beach and handed me a Dianetics book. Says, hey, have you ever you ever heard of Dianetics? And I was like, no, what is Dianetics? And she says, well, come with me and I'll show you. And she takes me over to the Orange County Church of Scientology, and they IQ test me and I score very high. And so they put me on staff immediately. They hire me on staff at Orange County Church of Scientology. And so I'm on staff now. I'm getting money. They give me a place to stay, and I just start studying and I start learning, right? And what's interesting about Scientology is one of the first things that they teach you is that you're 3D, you're not 2D. They call it a thetan, right? Thetan is what they call it. We call it a soul. They call it a thetan. And so that was like it's discovery, and I started learning about things called like engrams, which is what you're talking about, where the traumas from our childhood, they're stuck in our subconscious, and they're actually controlling 95% of our decisions every day. And so I started to learn about that, and I learned how to release those inner demons. And so I spent a good 6 months there at the Orange County Church of Scientology. And then at that point, it kind of got to a point where I wasn't comfortable in that particular environment or situation. It wasn't a fit for me. Go ahead, Peter.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Isn't it how miraculously something appeared to you the next day?
Yeah,
You know,
crazy.
crazy,
Very
right?
next day.
And so let me ask you, were those opportunities there before you maybe were not seeing them?
100%. Yeah, this one, these people out there in California are walking up and down that beach every single day with that book.
Yes. Yes.
You know it every single day with that book, right? But yeah, man, once your eyes, we're always blind to the things we can't see, right? Everybody's blind to the things they can't see.
Absolutely.
And so that was my start, right? That was my start. And I started on this spiritual journey, and left the church and started studying other spirituality type things. And along the way, I ended up, connection, meet a person, so on and so forth, opportunity, save up a little bit of money, and I start making my way over to where I am now, which is in Kentucky. And in Kentucky, there's a church on every corner, brother. There's every single corner of this place. There's church, so plenty of opportunities. So I'm still a knucklehead through all of this, just so everybody knows, right? Like I'm still drinking, I'm still drugging, I'm still making mistakes. I'm just starting to learn more about the spiritual side of myself, right? And so, but I'm still definitely a knucklehead. And I get a phone call. It's my mom, and JR, which is what they call me. I'm Glenn Jr., so they called me JR. And she says, JR, your grandfather, he's got moments left to live. He's got moments left to live, and you need to get out here, as fast as you can. You're probably not going to be able to see him again alive, but just get out here for the funeral service and, all that stuff. And so I'm like, oh man, this is crazy, because my grandfather was this, 6 foot two, 240 pound, like a strapping man. He was a military man his entire life. Served in the army. My entire family was all military. My mom, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, and my grandfather just set this theme of military in us. I'm the only one who didn't go to the military out of my entire immediate family. And so here's grandpa. He's a soldier. He's fought in multiple wars. He's this guy that I never once saw not wearing a crisp shirt and a tie, right? He'd come out of his room on Sunday morning. He'd have a shirt and tie on, sit down, read his newspaper. And like, he was just a man, a good old American man, right? He was just that guy. And I really admired him and really looked up to him. And so it hurt when I heard this. This was the first time I ever experienced the death of a loved one. And so I did everything I could, but I couldn't get there. It was going to be a day and a half for me to get there. For me to be able to get a flight and be able to get out and get back to Arizona was a day and a half. And so I made the arrangements, flew out to Arizona, got there a day and a half later. And when I get there, I go into the room, and there's this dude that supposedly is my grandfather laying on the table. He weighs like 130 pounds, skin's hanging off of him, and it's translucent. You can like see through the skin. His eyes are sunken in. He's got tubes in every orifice, and he's wearing that gown with
Yeah.
the slit down the back, right? And I'm just like, wow. I don't even recognize that person on the table, but he was still alive. And so we hung out at the hospital for another day until my Aunt Julie came from Florida. She was the last one to arrive 2.5 days after I got that initial phone call. So she arrives, the whole family's standing in a circle, like a semicircle around my grandfather's bed. And my grandfather says, Everett, which is my stepdad, he says, come tell me my favorite joke. And now my grandfather's military, so he loved telling dirty jokes. My grandpa would always shock you with a dirty joke, always. And so here we are. We all know where this is going. We're like, oh gosh, grandpa, man, on your deathbed, even, you got to get a dirty joke. And so my stepdad walks over and he says, Al, what do you call Moby Dick's father? And my grandpa smiles a little bit. He says, what, Everett? And my stepdad says, Papa Boner. And we all chuckle, and the tears are just pouring down our faces. And my grandfather says, bring me my wife. Now, my grandfather and my grandmother were married 49 years. My grandmother never had a driver's license. She never had a job. And not because my grandfather was some type of, control freak. It was because my grandmother knew that they would spend every day together, every minute of every day.
She
And they
didn't need to.
did.
Yeah.
They went everywhere together. She just didn't need to. She knew she would be able to count on my grandfather. And so my grandmother, she's like 4'2", tiny little woman. She goes walking across the room, and she climbs into bed with my grandfather, and he wraps his arms around her, and he passes away right there in that moment. And so, Peter, there was two major takeaways that I learned from that experience. The first thing that I learned from that experience is that it was very clear to me at that exact point that we are spiritual beings, 100%. Science cannot explain to me how a man with moments left to live can hang on for 2.5 days
Yeah.
until the last family member arrives, get told his favorite joke, and then die with his arms wrapped around his wife for 49 years. Sorry,
Yeah.
science can't explain that one to me.
Yes.
And so that was very clear to me in that moment. We truly are spiritual beings. And then the second thing that I took away from there that has transformed my life on top of the spiritual transformation, the second thing that I took away is I realized that we are most comfortable in life right before death.
Wow.
You see, there was a moment right there when my grandfather was being told his favorite joke, when his wife, he was wrapping his arms around his wife. There was this moment, Peter, and it wasn't long, but I swear to you, all of a sudden it was like he filled back up. It was like he was this strapping 220-pound man again, man. His eyes came back. They weren't sunken anymore. He had this little smile on him, like he was the grandpa I recognized. And it wasn't long. It was brief, man. It was just a couple minutes. But right before death, the pain had gone away. He was 100% comfortable in that moment before he passed away. And so I have looked at that in every aspect of my life since, because I see that pattern everywhere. You get comfortable in your marriage. Guess what happens? It's almost at the end.
Sure.
You get comfortable at your position at work. Guess what happens?
At the
You're
end.
almost at the end. You get comfortable as a professional athlete. You think you're the bomb. You get there. You finally made it. You get comfortable and don't keep putting in the work and making yourself uncomfortable. Somebody comes and takes your spot.
Absolutely.
And so I see that pattern everywhere now. And so anytime me personally, I start to settle in or feel a little comfortable, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not ready to die yet, bro. Like, I'm not ready. We got more to do. We got more lives to impact. We got people to meet. We got places to travel. I want to jump out of planes. I want to meet Will Smith. Like, there's stuff I got to do. So I constantly push myself to stay uncomfortable. And I challenge other people to do the same, man. As soon as you start to recognize that comfort, man, Sir Isaac, no, was it Isaac Newton that said an object at rest tends to stay at rest? Like, you stay comfortable too long, bro, you ain't getting back up. Like, that's it. So if you're not ready to die yet, I challenge people to lean into those uncomfortable areas of their life. And that's how I live my life every day now.
Wow. Wow, what an incredible story, Glenn. Thank you for
Hey.
diving in so deep with us. Let's
Yeah,
dissect
Peter.
that conversation a little bit. Let's talk about, we talked about stereotypes, right? And,
Yes,
and,
we
and,
did.
and I want to touch on that because I'm also a product of stereotype. I'm Mexican, okay?
Right?
Um, Came from a very poor background, a very dysfunctional home, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, poverty.
Mm,
Okay.
mm.
There was no emotional intelligence. Okay. And I truly believe, my parents were good people. They just could only provide for us what they had been provided.
No
Okay.
doubt.
People cannot give you more than what they have or what they know. And it's taken me many years to realize it, right? I had to
Yeah,
become a
good.
father. I had to get sober. I had to grow up emotionally, physically, mentally, financially, and in every area of my life. I had to fill all the lacks in order for me to be able to feel fulfilled and complete, right?
No doubt.
That was my job. Uh, but I also realized as part of that stereotype, there's a lot of things that our culture does not prepare us for. In fact, they almost set us up for failure. Okay. So as a father today, as a father, knowing that you saw your parents, you saw the two different lifestyles. I'm also a divorced father. I raised my son on my own. Uh, Thankfully, I was sober by the time I got divorced, and I was already on my journey for personal development, personal growth, change, and transformation, and that helped me tremendously. God saved my son had I been the demon that I was 20, 30
Right.
years ago, right? I mean,
Right.
I would have created another disaster for our community, for the universe. But fortunately, God knows His timing,
That's right.
and He saved me before I could save myself. So with that said, I also saw his mother self-destruct into the addiction, into alcohol and drugs, and multiple marriages and all kinds of stuff. What would you do different today, or what can a parent do different today that our culture, our generations, our cultures, our social conditioning did not prepare you for? Whether it's communication, whether it's education, whether it's emotional development, what is it that you do different today? I know how you show up. Okay. I know how you show up because you show up every single day. Okay.
Yes,
You
sir. Yes, sir.
contribute and you bring the energy and you bring the positivity and you motivate and educate and inspire every single day. But what do you do with your children in order to prepare them for the kind of world that we encounter each and every day?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that the things that you hit on are incredibly important. There has to be communication. There has to be education, right? We got to talk to our kids about these things that my parents wouldn't talk to me about nothing. They wouldn't talk to me about money. Don't worry about it, none of your business, right? They just wouldn't talk to me about it. They want to talk to me about sex. They didn't want to talk to me about nothing. And we really need to communicate. I think that's super important to communicate and educate. But here's the biggest thing that I do with my kids now, Peter, is I believe that each of my children were born of divine nature. I believe that they are children of God. And as children of God, it is my understanding that He is more powerful and knows better what's good for my kids than I do. And sometimes that's hard
Absolutely.
to accept,
Absolutely.
right?
I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah, and so my plans for them don't count. They don't matter. So instead of being the type of father who is trying to direct my children, I guide my children with guardrails, but I don't intend to direct them in any way, shape, or form. Instead, I observe them and I look for the seeds that are already in them, the gifts, the things that make them special and unique. Because what I've found in my particular life is when you find your sweet spot, oh my gosh, life is it's incredible when you're in your sweet spot. When you're trying to be a chameleon and you're trying to be something you're not, that's when life gets tragic.
It's
But
too
when you
fucking
find
exhausting, Glenn. It's too
Oh my
exhausting.
gosh, it's way too much. But
Yes.
when you get in the sweet spot, baby, you're doing that thing that you were born to do. You have all the energy in the world. You have all the information in the world. You have everything you need. It's built in you. It's in the seeds. And so I observe my children all the time. And if I see something that I think might be a part of their gift, then I guide. I don't direct, but I guide, right? I say, oh, my son, man, my son is a hardworking kid. Golly, this kid works hard. He won't quit on anything. I bought him a basketball hoop. He was like 5. I bought him a basketball hoop. It was 40 degrees outside. I put it at the lowest setting, gave him a basketball. He couldn't even hit the net, right? So I'm out there with him. He's throwing it, he's throwing it, and he's throwing it. And after half hour, I'm like, bro, like, let's go inside. It's cold. It's 40 degrees. You can't even hit the net. He's like, nope, you go. So I go inside. He stays out there for 3 hours until he makes a basket. As soon as he makes a basket, he picks up the basketball and goes inside. He was done. But he's been that way ever since. The boy, he finishes everything that he starts.
Love it.
And he loves to be outside. He loves nature. So just now for his birthday, he just turned 9. I bought him a kayak. We have a pond behind the house. I bought him a kayak and a life vest and some waders. I'm not a nature person at all. I don't do kayaks or waders. These hands are the softest hands you will ever touch in your entire life. Like,
I'm
I
with
am not
you.
nature. But this kid picks up frogs and spiders, and he takes care of the ducks. Like, he says he wants to be a farmer, a preacher, a car dealer, and he wants to own his own cleaning service. And
Wow.
I'm like, all right, bro. If those are the seeds that you've been planted with, I will guide and that's it, right? Like, I trust that God will do with him what he had planned for him, as long as I don't get in the way. I don't want to get in the way. I just want to be a guide. So I think that's the biggest key to any parent out there. Observe more than, take responsibility to observe the seeds more than try to demand what direction the seeds should go or grow.
You're a very proud father, Glenn. I
I
love
love
that.
my babies.
Yeah. Tell us about your daughter, Willow,
Oh my gosh.
your artsy daughter. Tell us about her.
So Willow is, if my kids ever watch this later, they'll probably get mad at me, but I always say that Willow's our smartest kid. And here's what I mean by that. She's clearly got a super high IQ. She has a photographic memory, and she cannot sit still for very long at all. And she also has the power of debate, because we say no for reasons that serve us as parents, right? Can I
Absolutely.
stay up late? No. Can I have some candy? No. Can I? No, 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 right? We say no because it's inconvenient to us. But my daughter Willow will extract more information because the no doesn't make sense to her. She doesn't like no. She doesn't take the no. So she will push and push and push and extract. But she's an artsy girl. She loves to feel, she loves textures, she loves all of that. And she's very proud of who she is, even though at the same time, for us, sometimes it's exhausting, right? And so, with Willow, it's the same thing. We observe and we do our best to guide and allow her to be in positions where she can, um sometimes we let her win, right? We let her win. She's got a solid debate. She's like, well, on Tuesday, September 18th at 9:15, you gave me candy. So for you to not give me candy today at 8:45 makes no sense. You can't say it's too late for candy, Dad, because you did it before. And sometimes you're just like, you're right. Yay. Here you
Yep.
go.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You win. So yeah, sometimes it can be challenging, but ultimately, um, the gifts are clear. I have 8 different children. No 2 of them are the same in any way, shape, or form, other than the fact that they're Team Lundy. My kids are all Team Lundy. They
Love it.
protect one another. They've got each other's back. They'll fight to the death when they're in the house and it's just the 2 of them. But you put them outside in any other environment with any other kids or anything like that, and it's Team Lundy. Man,
Love
they're
it.
on the same squad. So yeah,
You said,
yeah.
you said something very early on when you talked about when you were doing your sales meeting at the dealership, and it resonated with me a lot. You said we prepare the young millennials not only for job skills but for life skills.
That's right.
What does that mean?
Yeah. So I have something I call corporate family values. That's what we call it, corporate family values. And I believe that if you can, as John Maxwell says, you connect with the heart before you ask for a hand. And so too many young men and women, especially in the I shouldn't say especially in the millennial workforce, but the millennials have gotten a bad rep, right? They've gotten a really bad reputation, and people say, well, their average time on job is 19 months and they don't plan on staying this and they don't want to work hard and all these other things, when the reality is they just don't want to do things the same stupid way that we've been doing it forever.
For
That's
200
it.
years or more. Yeah,
That's it. That's
I
it.
completely agree. I completely
you
agree.
know and so what I found is same thing again with kind of with the seed. If you find the seeds in these humans and you find ways to help them be fulfilled in the areas and the lanes of their life that matter most to them, so teaching them life skills like how to have a strong solid relationship while still pursuing your career, teaching them teaching them education like on finances, where to put your money. And I'm not only going to show you how to make money, but I'm going to show you what to do with your money after you make money, teaching them those types of things, teaching them to wake up early and have a morning routine that taps into mind, body, and spirit every single day versus staying up all night drinking and doing whatever with, with your buddies and with your friends. Like when we teach these life skills at work, something happens. It's transformational. All of a sudden, these young people that most people write off, now they become like the best versions of themselves that they can be, and it's empowering for them, and they connect that with you because you helped show them. You gave them a self-development book, you spent some time with them, you talked to them about God, you did all those things, and now all of a sudden they go, okay, this guy cares about me, so now I care about the result for him, right? They correlate that. And so we were able to take a team of young people and do things in the auto industry that have never been done in the history of the industry. The way we grew in the town we grew it in, and it was all through, everybody's got the same sales trainings. Everybody's got the same uh, tools and technology. Like the playing field is even in the auto industry. Everyone has access to the same stuff. The only thing that makes a difference is people. That's the only thing that's not the same. There's no two of the same person in any two dealerships in the world. And so develop your people with life skills, and that's how you get massive results in your business.
I love it. I love it. You know, I'm a firm believer of what I call the 5 pillars: physical, mental, emotional, financial, and spiritual.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And when I take care of those 5 pillars on a daily basis, not every other day, not once a week, not once a month, but every single day, I
Yes,
am
sir.
building compound interest in my state of flow. And I
No doubt.
operate from a state of flow. You know, when I get up, I pray, I meditate, I exercise. I work on deriving the endorphins that get me the natural high that I was looking for, that alteration I was looking for when I was drinking alcohol, when I was chasing women, when I was chasing money, power, success, all of that stuff. But I was operating from a state of desperation, a state of survival, instead of operating from a state of flow. When I am calm and I'm prepared and I enter that state of flow, I become present. I'm in the present. Okay. And I'm able to see my future with clarity. And I'm
That's right.
able to see the distractions. I'm able to see that person walking at the beach that hands me a book. I'm able to
Right.
see that individual taps me in the shoulder, say, hey, don't go that way, go this way.
That's
Okay.
right.
But we need to be present. We need to be here, in order to be able to enjoy what's out there. Glenn,
No doubt.
what an alignment conversation. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Tell us about your journal and where can people find you?
Yeah. So the best place to find me is just go to glennlundy.com. It connects to all my stuff, the rise and grind, my planners, my gear. Uh, that's the best place to find me. And if you are looking at working on your morning routine or creating that solid foundation, I do have an ebook that I wrote that you can have for free. You can go to themorning5.com. That's the morning and then the number 5.com, and you can download my book. It's called 5 Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Life. And it's about you can read it in less than an hour. It just kind of breaks down. It actually tells my story a little bit and then breaks down 5 things you can do every single day that'll make a massive impact in your life. So I appreciate this, Peter. This has been great.
Hashtag Rise and Grind with Mr. Glenn Lundy. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.